What's up? What's up? Real MVPs. Ricky Widmer here, along with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And Dave Oster, welcome into MVP Sports Live. I'm not going to say get into everything, but I will say, if you're on YouTube right now and you're watching, you definitely missed out in the pre-show before this, because man, was there a conversation to be had about sports and the greater how sports reflect in our lives, and are they pointless? Do they mean anything? It was a great conversation, and you'll never understand it because you weren't there. You just had to be there. One of those things. We're back for another edition of MVP Sports Live, where we talk about all the greatest sports news going on in the sporting world. We've got Bulls reaction, Dave. Today, though, is all of us talking about the Bulls. That's all we're going to do. It's Bulls Central for about an hour and a half. No, we're going to talk football and stuff, too. But, yeah, Billy Donovan signed with the Bulls. We're going to get into that. But before we do, Discord, Philly Sean already put it in the Twitch chat because he a G. You can also get it down below in the description.
Cut the line.
If you are, yeah, he does that.
There's usually a race for it.
Whatever. False start, 10 yards. And then we'll replay first down.
Nice, thank you.
Discord down below or in Twitch chat, ! Discord. Get you that at any time. Great community, great conversations to be had about everything from the sports world each and every day. Also, if you want to support us, couple ways you can do that. Patreon.com/MVPvids is a great way. Bronze, silver, gold, platinum tiers for you to support us in any way that you see fit. And thank you to our Patreon sponsors, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. You can get content early. You can interact with the live show on a level that is above everyone else. And then you also get access to the Discord voice channel. So it's a great time. Also, sub to us on Twitch. That's the other way you can support us and get the same rewards as a bronze level patron. And then last but not least, we are on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. But we're also on YouTube, MVP Sports as well. So follow, subscribe in both places. Helps us out, and it helps you out too. Dave, Billy Donovan has agreed to become the Bulls' next head coach. And I will say this, Dave. I look out my window and Chicago is burning. It is literally burning outside. Because all I've seen so far is people reacting to where I'm getting the general consensus is that people don't like this. I'm going to be on the other side, I feel. I don't hate this. I do not hate this. Smart move by Karnisovas. It's just how I said, we can sit here for a half hour and get me to pronounce it right, or we could just move right on, Dave. What do you want to do? You want to say it slow enough for me? Yeah, put the hood up. But like I was saying, I'm not against this. I do not hate this. Billy Donovan, I feel, gets a bad rap for his time at OKC. Is he a perfect coach? No, but he gets a bad rap when he doesn't deserve one.
I mean, let's get into that. Let's just go straight to the fact that I think that the frustration with a lot of people, they see Billy Donovan and it's a recency bias. They go, what is he known for last? Mm-hmm. And his inability to make changes in the playoffs, leading to failure. And I think that's what people are most like, hey, they don't want to give him all the credit for the season that the Thunder had. I think a lot of people are saying, and I'm in the group, that this season was made in part by the fact that Chris Paul is an incredible point guard, has been a healthy point guard all season, which allowed him to do a lot of things correctly. And I think that he has been a great mentor, and maybe we're placing too much ownership as far as the team success of the Thunder this season on Chris Paul's shoulders and not enough to Billy Donovan's. But at the same time, you have to look at that playoff failure this year and say, okay, he really doesn't make adjustments in the playoffs. He just seems to have one game plan, and clearly he doesn't come up with new plays because Russell Westbrook knew the play when it mattered most for his former team. And you look back a couple of years ago, and okay, he failed with Russell Westbrook in the playoffs and Paul George, and he failed with Russell Westbrook. Yeah. And then it's just, you look at that series, you go, okay, why should we be happy about a guy who throughout his career has had an incredibly talented roster and seemingly not been able to get over a hump in the playoffs? And now, bigger picture, you have to look at the Western Conference playoffs and understand that There are multiple juggernauts out west for the past 5 years. I don't know if you've heard of them, but this team called Golden State, very fucking good at basketball.
They're coming back next year. They'll be back.
Rockets, also good at basketball, arguably the best team, as long as Golden State for a couple of those years trading off.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are circumstantial basketball situations where you have to be like, okay, in this moment, do I trust my head coach to make the right call? And that's where I kind of have my question about Billy Donovan. As an overall coach, I think he's had a lot of success in the NBA. And while he wasn't my first option for this Bulls head coaching job, I do think he is a good choice, and there are far worse choices that we could have made.
I mean, for me, though, if you are a Bulls fan and you're on the side, let's say you're on the side of what you just said, Dave. He makes bad decisions in the playoffs. He hasn't changed. Take a step back. Realize who the Bulls are. Yes, like with a better coach and a better system, odds are the Bulls could make the playoffs next year. The East is what it is. Leave it at that. But the Bulls are a team where no matter what coach we were going to hire, no matter who we draft in this year's draft, we're not winning a championship next year.
Right.
Like, this to me is a hire of, you got to look at what he did besides the playoffs. And the thing that I look to, and if my tablet wasn't being a fucking dumbass right now.
What can I do for you?
Basically, I'm trying, like, off the top of my head, I'm trying to look at the young players. Like, I think Shai Gilgeous is one who took a leap this year. Like,
he did. He certainly did.
Like, look at the development of the young Thunder players and go, oh, can that happen for us? And like, is it necessarily a bad thing to go into this, maybe thinking, hey, we might not win a championship with Billy Donovan, but Billy Donovan might be the best coach that we have right now because A, he does have playoff failure, and that could be good for us because not only could he develop this young talent because of what he's done in the Thunder, but when we get to the playoffs, he has experience being in playoff situations, which I'll be honest, our team does not. Like, most of our team does not have playoff experience. Maybe Otto Porter and Thad Young, that might be it.
Yeah.
Like, Zach LaVine, no playoff experience. Kobe, none. Lowry, none. Wendell, none. Gaff Daddy, none. Like, we have two players. Two players.
Three,
have
technically.
Playoff experience. Who's the third?
The other player who was playing with Otto Porter on that Wizards team in the playoffs.
Satoransky, you're right. So 3.
Satoransky.
So what? 3 of our 15, if we're using like a full rotation, our 3 of 13 have playoff
somewhere
experience.
Around there, yeah.
Like that, I think is why, you know what? Like Wes Unseld Jr. He was my guy. I was with EU, who was in Discord. He was my guy that I was hoping for because I was like, AK is basically going to pair up with him again. But I don't hate this move. This might not be the worst move for the Bulls. You were.
I was like, look at that fucking defense down there in Miami. The guy was a G League genius down there. He's been an end of the line coach he's been an end of the bench kind of coach for the Heat for a couple of years. He's received a lot of praise from multiple coaches, multiple front office guys, including the fucking former guy here, the new New York Knicks head coach in Tom Thibodeau, saying he was going to be something special. But yeah, I just that was like number one. I always thought was like, oh, Kenny Atkinson seems like the obvious choice. Weirdly, he's not found a place to land yet, which surprises me since he was technically the first available coach on the market, and teams have had the most time to talk to him.
Yeah.
So that's surprising to me. But back to Billy D, our new head coach. And you talked about that Thunder team, the young Thunder team. You know, we got Philly Shaw calling out Lou Dort for the amazing performances he had in the playoffs. Again, undrafted rookie. Now, undrafted because of the fact that he told his agent, don't tell people not to take me in the second round, but still undrafted perhaps. You have to look at Darius Baisley. Amazing performance as the season went on. He looks like he is going to be something I think something special. Yeah. Some people think he's just going to be an above average starter, but still a very good young player. I mean, they've had a number of young players. T. Ferg, honestly, I was a little disappointed with. He kind of took a step back this year. Hamidou Diallo stepped forward. They've had a lot of young guys in and out of that rotation. The one thing that's interesting to me, and it speaks to this Bulls team, is that 3-guard rotation that he was known for down there in OKC. Now, they were able to roll with Chris Paul Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, as well as my sixth man of the year, not the officially voted sixth man of the year, Dennis Schroeder. So we saw a lot of success out of that, and they had a big four out there who was able to space, and Danilo Gallinari knock down shots from the outside. Now, do we have a big four who can space the floor and knock down shots from the outside? You tell me. I
think we do, Dave. I think we do.
So, like, there's a lot of reasons.
The finisher, as I like to call them.
We look at our team, and we know that we have two great shooting guards in Kobe White and Zach LaVine. And we're like, well, we always talk about the fact that either through the draft or through free agency, we may address and get another guard to play lead guard for us. Well, maybe we go three wide. And Zach LaVine kind of moves into that DeMar DeRozan role, playing the three sometimes. And we utilize a different kind of a lineup out there with that triple guard offense. So I like there's some similarities, but the question that begs to me.
So then that means I'm going to interject real quick.
Sure.
So that means then the top of the board for us is Ball, Hayes, Halliburton. Fitting someone in to get that three-guard lineup, because Ball, Hayes, or Halliburton could be that main ball handler with Kobe at the 2 and then Zach at the 3.
I think you don't give up on Kobe being a 1 at the NBA level yet. 1 year.
Well, I mean, with Halliburton, I'll say,
he's
if you
also
draft
a
Halliburton,
tweener.
you can switch him, whichever one you want to run the offense.
I absolutely agree. He is someone who I think goes both. I think that Hayes has the size to play the 1 or the 2.
Yep.
He's got the shooting stroke to be able to flex
he's just got to
over
develop
off ball.
the shot.
No, he's got a great stroke.
No, but I mean, like, he's got it, like, the right now.
It's can he play off ball is my question for Hayes.
Yeah, it's like,
because right now he's been able to bring the ball up, make the calls, make the plays himself.
Yeah. Like, we know Halliburton can play off ball right now.
100%. We've seen the success from him in college. My question, honestly, is I like the idea. I think the 3-guard step could be good for us long term, because I don't know if Otto Porter is in our long term plans.
Yeah,
he's of course going to take the money this offseason. He'd be insane not to take $30 million fucking dollars, because who wouldn't? Yeah. But long term, like, hey, I think a lot of people have written him off, and I'm not ready to do that. I think that he missed a year because of injury, and that's totally okay. It happens. If he is a key cog in our offense, and he's a guy who can knock down shots and make plays, perhaps even, then we've got a fucking different beast coming at us. Like, we are transforming it into a contender. But I thought that Billy Donovan had left OKC because they were not on the same wavelength as far as the future of the team, which I think a lot of us read into in the fact that we're like, oh, so does that mean they're going rebuild, and like Chris Paul, Danilo Gallinari may be gone, and Steven Adams, I don't know if he's going to be a staple here long term, or if he's going to be the guy who keeps the culture here, but we're going to continue to build young pieces, getting the majority of time, and away from that competing for the playoffs aspect.
You know what I think? You know what I think it might have been? And of course, don't know Billy, don't know Sam Presti. I'm not Wojnarowski, but here's the thing I'm going to read into here. I wonder if Billy Donovan might have been burned when Presti and the Thunder brought in Chris Paul.
Why is
because the thing that I'm like, when he was brought in, they had KD. So, of course, the expectation is we're going to go ahead and, like, we're going for a championship. We got KD, we got Russ. Like, we've got the two best players, to where maybe he was either burned by the Chris Paul thing, because everyone says that he had, like, the kind of relationship with Russ where, like, they call them the Russell Westbrook whisperer, and could, like, get the best out of.
They had a very good relationship, and, you know, Russ did have his best years of success, minus the couple month area where he really carried that Rockets team. I agree. Yeah,
but it could have also been a thing where Billy Donovan could have been looking at the roster and said, I think the direction is to go into more of a rebuild or a retool, because you look at the West, you look at all the powerhouses. We're not going to compete for a championship. And maybe the Thunder were like, no, we've got Chris Paul still. We're fighting for that, to where maybe they were like, you know what? We don't see eye to eye on where the direction of this team is. I can't be here, which the Bulls, our direction is clear. We are rebuilding. Well, not rebuilding, but we are such a, like, we are a blank piece of clay that Billy Donovan can mold us into. Like, even though Zach is our number one and our star player, he is still very moldable, to where you have Billy Donovan has all the tools at his ability to basically say, I can build this team into what I want, and I'm not pigeonholed into something that I don't want to be pigeonholed into.
I mean, that's actually a great point to bring up, because I think a lot of people, myself included, were assuming what was going to happen was the opposite. Like I had explained, that they were going towards a rebuild because they've got about 1 billion draft picks in the next 4 years from multiple teams. And they're going to be able to absolutely load up on young talent. But if what you're saying, 50% truth, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we don't know from the outside. So there's equal chance that they're like, hey, Chris Paul played great. Why would we believe Chris Paul won't play great again? Danilo Gallinari shot insanely well, was healthy. Again, both of these guys being healthy is their biggest question marks. So, like, why can't we go back? Our young talent's only going to get better. Everybody's still under contract. Like, there's no big losses from this roster year over year. So, if they re-sign Gallo, like, they're right back in it. And why can't they compete for the 7th, 8th, 6th, or 5th seed in the West? I don't think they can get higher than that physically, because I do believe the top of the fucking West is a different league.
Well,
but I agree with you. Like, that he could have been like, hey, I don't want to ram my head into the fact that I'm playing against superstars, and you're giving me Chris Paul and young talent. Like, I will do the best I can with that, but that is not going to win you a championship. So don't get mad at me when we come up short in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Let me pull up really quick this was a thought I just had at the top of my head about his roster at Florida and how it could relate to ours. But, like, I'm thinking draft first off while I look that up. So we mentioned Halliburton, Hayes. I'm thinking
and Ball, obviously at the top.
And Ball, but like
Halliburton,
so
Hayes, or Hayes, Halliburton, depending on your own priority.
If Ball falls to us, it all depends. To me, it all depends on the Charlotte Hornets, because I think what'll happen is.
Did you hear the new rumors today?
What? Which ones? Just go ahead and say it, because I'm not.
The Golden State Warriors are potentially more interested in Denny Avdia than they are in LaMelo Ball.
Could see that.
They're more interested in James Wiseman than they are in LaMelo Ball.
Really?
So
the news early on was that they did not like Wiseman at all, and we're
correct. Which is why this is an interesting rumor mill or leak out of their system that potentially they even liked Wiseman more than him. So that means that if we're looking at Anthony Edwards 1, Denny Avdia or Wiseman 2, that could mean that we're looking at either Ball falling to 4 if the Charlotte Hornets don't select him, or
with the Hornets, the thing that's going to be interesting there, because the first 2 picks is if Wiseman's off the board for the Hornets, it becomes, do we take Ball, who to me is the best player in the draft, or do they say we have such a big hole at the big, with the Cody Zeller basically being their only 5 right now, and him and Bismack kind of split time starting, to where if Wiseman's gone, do they say, fuck it, we're taking Big O at 3 to solidify that because of his rim protection and everything that he brings to the table? Or if Wiseman's available, let's say Edwards goes 1, Denny Avdia goes 2, Hornets go, hey, we're going to go Wiseman, because he's the best center in the draft. Boom. Ball could be there at 4.
Ball at 4?
Like, I mean, I'm starting to think that the Bulls trading back, not going to happen. Like, even if Ball, like, there's a chance, because
not a chance.
The four guys I think that are in play now for the Bulls: Ball, Hayes, Halliburton, Denny Avdia. Those are the 4 guys that I think the Bulls will zone in on, mainly because of what you said, where Ball, Hayes, Halliburton can be at that 1 or that 2, depending on who you take, depending on who it is.
A couple years down the line, Ball can play the 3 with his size. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can't just look at it in the bubble of this year. You got to look at where can they develop, and that's why I think that.
Well, that's why I look at Denny and I go, well, Denny's playmaking ability, that the future would just be Kobe at the 1, Zach at the 2, Denny at the 3.
I think he's going to be more of a 4.
You think so? Like, I know that
I've heard reports that he's closer to 6'10" and a half than he is to 6'9". I mean, where he was last measured.
But at that point too, could it be the same thing of like the same situation of like, well, he's our 3 because of his playmaking ability and his ability to guard 3.
It's just like
Kind of like how like Giannis can run the point, although Giannis doesn't have the frame of
their power forward.
Yeah, technically, but like runs the point like a point guard. Like, could it be?
Yeah, Denny's not going to do that for us. At least I don't expect him to.
Mm-mm.
But I think that Denny is closer to a power forward and who he's going to guard rather than a small forward. I mean, he's a very good athlete.
If we take Denny, that means like, oh, Lowry's probably.
That's the question. Okay. That is the question. I think you can play them alongside each other for a little bit, but I don't know that long term. That's a long term. Yeah.
I'll ask you this, and this is, I know, away from the Donovan. We'll get back to it. But if you're the Warriors at 2, with the news you mentioned today, let's say Wiseman goes 1. If you're the Warriors.
If Wiseman goes 1, I'm laughing my ass off.
But if let's say they really like Denny, do you take Denny or do you take Edwards? Because rumors were before that they really liked Edwards too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would read into the rumors. Personally, I would take Denny over Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the Warriors as a team, as an organization, would probably go for Anthony Edwards because I see that drive, that hunger in him, the way he attacks the hoop and is so aggressive getting buckets out there, and the potential for his growth on the defensive end. It just seems to be maybe an effort problem, maybe a skill gap as far as, knowing the situations where you can reach kind of a situation on that defense. So I think they're more likely to, if they have the option to take Edwards than they would to take Denny, even though I would absolutely take Denny if I were them.
So any final thoughts you got on this Billy Donovan?
I think the things that we've nailed so far have been spot on. The big question is, like you said, that reprioritization of the draft order because of our head coach. Do you think that we change to looking for that 3-guard lineup? Or is, hey, Chris Dunn's not out of the conversation still. So we're not saying that we can't go Chris Dunn, Kobe, and Zach LaVine all out there together.
Yeah.
Under him as the head coach. So I think there's a lot of things that changed because of this. I do have a lot of questions about, where the directions, did not meet up for he and OKC. Understand what his idea is for this roster. Where do he and Karnisovas meet on, are we in a rebuild? Are we in a retool? Is no one on this roster safe? Or are we saying that, hey, this is a core that we're going to build around? Like those are the questions that I would love to be a fly on the wall. I really do. 100%. If I could be in there for the interview for AKME and fucking Billy D, that would be that's just so much basketball knowledge in one room. I would have a billion questions for them. But again, Donovan has some things to get over. But if he can take this team to the playoffs, which he's shown he can get to the playoffs, he just can't seem to win much in the playoffs. So I think this might be like he's the guy to rebuild with. And then maybe, hey, in 4 years, we're looking at a new coach to take us over a hill. That would be a great position as a Bulls fan if we were there. Say next year we fall short of the playoffs. The year after we hit the playoffs. The year after we're in the playoffs, but we fall again short. Then it's like, okay, do we go get our, as you would say, is he our Mark Jackson?
He could be.
Is he our Mark Jackson?
He could be our Mark Jackson. From chat, though, so we've got EU, who from the Discord is in Twitch chat, says we need a true point guard on the roster. I agree. That's why Ball would be like my please follow us kind of guy. But I think that the other one is Hayes could be the true point guard if we draft him. And then infamous reason for you, also from the Discord. Infamous, sorry. Reason for you, basically, from the Discord. It says, I'm depressed. Donovan is just another failed coach. I think you're looking at this from a different, Thunder, different expectation than the Bulls. We're two totally different teams, two totally different timelines. He also said, oh, God, more 3-guard lineups. Fucking end me.
What's wrong with the 3-guard lineup?
I don't know, Dave. I'm not against it. I'm against anything if it wins.
Maybe it's because I come from the Church of D'Antoni, and I like the small ball play. And I understand that we've got two bigs on our roster who have a ton of upside still in Wendell Carter Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. But I'm just saying, I got no problem with 3-guard lineups when they're able to defend. It's just, Zach LaVine made a lot of improvements. Kobe White is a fucking microwave out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a question of, will Chris Dunn be back, or are we going to draft our point guard of the future at the top of this year?
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I know I was on the side of the Denver coach Wes, being the guy that we go to, but I'm on the other side here than most people. I'm not really upset about it.
So you're happy with hiring?
I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic. Like, I'm not happy. Like, it's not like a woo, we got our guy. But
where was he on your big board? Was he 2? Was he 3?
3, I would say. Because I even like Kenny. Like, I think my top 2 was Wes and Kenny. And then maybe Billy.
Billy D. Okay.
Yeah, then because like the article that we talked, Tim, Sam, and I were talking about it. Like, I think over the weekend in a watch along was just 3 of us one night, and I brought up an article where apparently Sean was there too, because the finalists apparently that were reported were Unsled Jr. I think it's
Unseld. I think it's
Unseld Jr. The assistant coach from Philly, who I can never say his name right.
Ime Udoka.
Yeah. Then the assistant from Milwaukee, which I think was Ham.
Darvin Ham.
And then Kenny Atkinson. Like, those were the 4 names being like, that's the final list. So, like, Billy D wasn't there. I am happy. Like, I'm not happy with this, but I'm not mad about it. I see the optimism in it, and I can see how it could work for the Bulls going forward. Because, like I said, we're on a different timeline than the Thunder. But, Dave, let's pivot into some NBA news that are not the Chicago Bulls.
I guess there are other teams in the NBA.
I guess there's an entire NBA, 29 teams? Because there's 30 in the NBA, not 32. Yeah, there's 30.
Correct.
But coming from
draft how many times, and you don't know how many teams there are.
Dude, like all sports need to be the same. All sports need to be the same. Just have the same number of teams, because
we're going to add Vegas and we're going to add Seattle. It's just a matter of time. I think within the next 4 years we're going to have 2 more teams.
# bring back the Supersonics. But this article coming from ESPN. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, best guess is next season won't start until 2020. The NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said 2021. His best guess is that the league will not begin its season until 2021, emphasizing that the goal is to play a standard season. Silver discussed the NBA's plans for the 2020-2021 season Tuesday as part of a wide-ranging interview with CNN. Do they have the exact quote? Right here. Silver clarified a standard season would include an 82-game regular season and a full postseason, and he noted that the goal would be to play games in home arenas in front of fans. This is the quote. But there's still a lot that we need to learn in terms of rapid testing, for example, Silver said. Would that be a means of getting fans into our buildings? Will there be other protections? Silver said the NBA is clearly learning a lot from other sports, citing COVID-19 protocols being used by Major League Baseball and the NFL and major college sports programs. Dave, the question I want to ask from this is, should the NBA be focusing on an 82-game schedule? Because for me, I feel like if you do that, you're not fixing the problem of getting your season back to where it normally is.
Let me start with this. I think we all loved what the NBA had done with the truncated season due to the contract. What was it? The
lockout.
The lockout. Yeah. And that was the start on Christmas Day.
Yep. We
got literally top games, top billions of the season. You start off on the highest of notes.
I think Bulls Knicks played that day, or Bulls.
Well, not maybe those weren't the highest of notes then.
But no, that was a good Bulls team. That was Derrick Rose Bulls team.
I'm fucking with you. I'm just being an asshole now to be. I remember I think it was Lakers Celtics had happened on that night as well.
Yeah.
There were a lot of very good games, and I think that the biggest thing was you came out strong. Sorry, my hair is doing a thing right now. There we go. You came out strong, and you had such an action-packed start. And that just felt rapid fire. It felt like the amount of games packed in a short time. It was great. I think that what he's trying to do is not cram in too many games too quickly after what you've seen in the bubble and the amount of rest needed for guys. Maybe he's going to back it up a little bit. I think it's okay because they had a long off season normally. So like if you cut it down a little bit, like obviously we're in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals right now. We're on game 4 of the East will be tomorrow. Game 2 of the West will be tomorrow, right? 3.
Yeah,
game
so
3.
the West is tonight, Tuesday. The East is tomorrow, game 4.
Okay. Yeah, game 3, then game 4, then game 4, then game 5. Yeah.
So game 4's reset. They officially start Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, I think that they're going to look to try to make sure there's enough offseason this year to figure out the contract situation because of people in stands. Where's the cap at? What's the money going to look like? So I'm totally fine with them looking for a little bit of a delay. I think that, hey, early January start. I'm not looking for like January 30, January 25. I want like New Year's Day games. Like, fuck it. Let's just do this. I think the holiday games are big. I love the idea of Christmas Day games. I'll be honest. I spent some time with my family, and then I watched a whole lot of basketball, and I was 100% okay with that. And I think that a lot of people were. I think that was a great time. And you can watch basketball with your family if they're so inclined. So I'm not concerned with the off season there. And I think what you bring up about if it's 82 games and playoffs, where's our regular season and then our playoffs
so
going to happen?
basically,
where's that gap going to look like? And I'm like, look, that's a next year problem.
Yeah,
I'm not even fucking worried about that.
I just mapped it out in my head. So correct me if I'm wrong. Season usually starts around Halloween, right? End of
Correct.
October.
It is usually a October 25th through 31st start date, floating based on the week.
November, December, January, February, March, April, and then the playoffs usually start at the end of April, early May. So you have
the end of June, like the start of like week 1 of June, right? I
thought it was then 7 months. Basically, 6 or 7 months is your regular season.
Yeah.
If that's
I meant the playoffs were June.
Okay, yeah. But I'm just regular season right now is 6 months.
Yep.
So that brings your regular season, if you start in January, to around June, July. Then your playoffs are May and June, which is an extra 2 months. So we're ending.
You're not close. Unless you're talking about the regular season.
No, the playoffs don't they usually end in May, June, and then they're done in June because usually it's Father's Day is the finals.
Yeah, I think June. You're right. So ends in June. So now they'll be pushed back in
2 more months. So it'll be about in August, September, depending on where in January we start.
Yep.
That season is ending in August, September.
Yep.
Is there enough then basically what you would have to do to start on time again would be, an off season of a month. You're starting back in October. I just don't see it.
Like a month and a half.
To me, I feel like for this next season, a shortened season is the way to go, and you can do it without crunching games together.
Nah, fuck that. I think full season is fine. I think that if you give people a month and a half off of basketball, that'll be okay. I think that.
Do you think the players would be okay? See, that's the thing I'm thinking about is the players and the player association. Will they have a problem with, this, especially for the finals team? I just ended in late August, early September, and now I got to start going again. I got no time to relax with my family. You need some time
a week and give them till November fucking 6th or something like that. That's not the end of the world. I wonder if the basketball association is going, ratings wise, what else is going on in the summer during that time? Nobody fucking cares about baseball. Are we having an issue with just shifting our season back a month permanently? What if they started their season? What if next year they start in, this year it's a mid-Jan start or early Jan start, and then next year they decide that we'll go in November. We'll start up right before Thanksgiving, or right in that timeline, and that'll be our jam. We're just going to shift our whole season back by maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks.
They could do that.
And then look, they kick out a little bit later in summer. I don't think anybody complains because, like I said, who's playing? Who else is their competition at that point? Do they give a shit about baseball? To be honest, those are the dog days of summer already for them.
The only question I have then is, and this isn't like a it can't happen question, but for example, then the NBA draft, that's easy. You just push it back a little bit.
I've only done that 3 times since we fucking
but for
draft date.
But for Summer League, then is it a like late July, early August Summer League?
100%, yeah.
And it's just pushed back a month?
Yeah, instead of being the week of July 4th for their Las Vegas group, which we went to, which was a great fucking time.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go again.
And the only other thing, and of course, yet again, this is just a thought with pushing it back. The thing you have to think about too is when we were at Summer League, it's a like there are a lot of families there that bring their like people on vacation, but like there were a lot of like families there with their kids. And I wonder if, because most families probably think, you know, how the school year is, our trips are going to be in July because in August, everything's gearing back up to go back to school and stuff. Would that affect the Summer League in general? Like, would the family side of it, those people be like, well, I can't go to Summer League now or bring my kids because it's more closer to school starting up, or if it was in July, that'd be like prime like summer season. I know you don't give a shit about that, Dave.
No fucks given.
But like the NBA will if it means less money.
They won't. No, they won't, because Summer League still sold great. Like it's Vegas, baby.
No,
like,
but I'm saying like if that plays a dividends and like takes down ticket sales for it, I feel like it could.
Summer League are bonus. They're not even something that the NBA counts on in their bottom line. Like that's how low that sale goes, because again,
I think any money coming in is important to them. Like they care about any money coming in.
Important, but it's not necessary.
No, it's not the main bread and butter.
Games in a bubble, they will do it. Like that's where they're at. They don't give a fuck about attendance right now. They're like, all we need to do is get our product out there. Their money comes from ad revenue. They're not attendance is bottom line, because you got to remember, they don't own that arena. That arena is the colleges. They're paying to use that arena. That's money.
That's another thing. What if because of then schools like the college season starting up, what if the running Rebels are like, dude, we use that time to get our teams. Like our teams use that to get ready for the upcoming season and stuff and coming back. Like you don't know. No. Like
the NBA would just be like, here, take this wad of money and shut the fuck up. That's the way business seems to work, and the dollar is the bottom line. The NBA doesn't care about the attendance for Summer League. The NBA cares about the ad dollars they get from airing on ESPN. They care about the ad dollars they're going to get from airing on Twitch. Like that's where their money's from. It's the attendance is usually for the local owners. That's where, you know, we talk about having fans in the stands for football. And how much money, I don't know if you've seen the report of how much money a week each team is losing in the NFL for not being able to have fans in stands.
I'm not debating. Where that money goes to.
It's not the league itself.
I'm not debating that Summer League compared to the ad revenue is peanuts compared to it. I'm just saying, like, based on will moving in a month hurt attendance to where, as an event, will the NBA say, well, now it's a loss compared to it did a lot better in July, and kind of have to rework it? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
0.0001% consideration. It is not even a concern in their mind, in my opinion. I just can't see why they would give a fuck about it being 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, because of the potential loss of a couple ticket sales. When, again, like I said, the NBA's revenue is off of ads. The local stadium gets the vast majority of the ticket sales. Yeah, I think the way that split is literally like a 95-5.
To me though, in general about this, I go back to the main point of, I don't see why, like, this guy says he thinks it's a 3-year project to get back to normal. I don't think so. And he's saying, like, if you don't have a shortened season. And the reason say I don't think so is I'm on the side of a shortened season, I think, is being looked at by the NBA as a negative, where it's like we already have the X amount of people saying, well, this year should have an asterisk because of the pandemic and everything. And because like these games are in neutral sites, they're not at the home courts, which does play some sort of factor in the playoffs with some teams. But then there's also the sense of, if we have another shortened season, will people say, well, of course it's another asterisk season. I feel like they just want to get back to normal when normal is in 82 games. But like for me, I don't think it's bad if the NBA next season has a shortened season like they had the lockout season just to get back to normal and get back on track, because the NBA model, the NBA timeline, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like,
but it's not perfect. They clearly have been losing out in revenue dollars for advertising. Their viewing numbers are down because people are consuming them through different forms of media. And I think that's something that the NBA is ahead of every other league as far as like, hey,
so changing what time, like what months the games are played in is just magically going to fix that?
No, but I think you have to explore the option. I think that saying, hey, we are the guys to watch from Halloween to Father's Day is like, great. What's going on the next couple of weeks? Like, have you checked out the viewing numbers for the next 4 weeks? Is that going to hurt us if we extend into that area? Like, I don't see a downside in that. I think that change for the sake of change is wrong, but I think change for the opportunity is something that you have to look into a little bit further. So when I look at the calendar, I go, all right, what's happening in June? I literally can't tell you if there's good sports to watch other than baseball games. And to be honest, their
the thing
consumption and baseball consumption groups don't have a massive overlap. So maybe they will be able to contain those fans. Maybe they'll get different fans who come in because like, hey, there's playoff game.
I want to throw this out then. Why would you start in January then? And the reason why I say that is by starting in January, you have NFL playoffs, which I know are only Sundays, but you have NFL playoffs. Then you have basically the end of July into February into March, college basketball. Like people, there is such a cult following.
That's a big fucking assumption right now.
Yeah, no, I'm talking. I'm talking about in a normalized world, like because we're talking about shifting it and like staying, like having it stayed shifted. In a normal world, it's late January to basically the beginning of April is college basketball gets a huge uptick.
One month
watches.
They own 1 month college basketball.
February sees the uptick, then it goes March into April.
It goes up each month, don't get me wrong, but they're not in competition with the NBA for more than 1 month, and that would be March Madness. They own that bracket, owns the fucking ratings for everyone.
Would you want the beginning of your season then to be covered up by that? Or are you saying it's better to have the beginning of the season covered up by that instead of the end of our season? Because right now the NBA season is kind of like the end of the regular season is April. So like March and April are where the playoff races are beginning to happen. Hey, let's have that later on where there's no March Madness. It's kind of
I think this. Assuming there is a March Madness this year, which is big fucking if, because colleges are.
We can just say in a normalized world, we don't know when.
I'm not running from college basketball if I'm the NBA. You're my feeder system. You guys give me stars. No, you're my bitch right now.
I'm not saying
you own my ratings for 1 month, but only on days where there's a tournament game.
Yeah,
which is not every day of the week. We have games every fucking day of the week.
Thursday through like for 2 weeks, it's Thursday through Sunday though.
Right. And again, they don't have games all day where the NBA can schedule noons. They can schedule late nights.
Pretty much that first, the first one
weekend. 64, so one weekend. Yeah. So now we're saying we should give consideration to move the NBA season because you're afraid of 1 weekend of ratings.
And you're going on the sense of like I'm saying run from the NBA, run from college. I'm not.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is the question of, and what I was asking you to try to understand where you're coming from is, are you saying, hey, it might be better business-wise to have games that happen usually in they usually happen in December and January, have those games go up against college basketball rather than, it's getting to the end of the season, playoff matchups are on the line.
Yeah, I think that's I'm again
like
games
no
that
one's
happen
saying run from college basketball.
October, November, and December. You can shift that if you shift it 2 months. If you just say, hey, 8 weeks later, the entire season shifts 8 weeks. So instead of our NBA season starting October 31st, Halloween, we instead start on December 31st.
Okay.
And then hey, look, you don't have any problems. Your season, well, the college system has the tournament going on. Guess what? You've got mid-season shit. You've got trade rumors. You've got the most juicy shit that the NBA can put out there. And I agree with Philly Sean. viewership has nothing to do with the other sports going on. It has everything to do with the change in the way that media is consumed by everyone in the country. The people in our age group specifically who favor streaming, who favor convenience, who hate the fuck out of cable companies for gouging the living shit out of people.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned with what they're doing. I just think that as an NBA product, if you shift everything 8 weeks, there's no downside in my mind. I think you're cutting into nothing important that happens in June and July. And I think that schedule-wise, like I said, they've been doing it for years where they compete with March Madness, and there's not a huge problem. But this way your season might line up a little bit better, and you might win out. And, hey, it's March Madness. All-Star Weekend might be somewhere in there, which could be juicy. Could be juicy. At the end of March Madness, you get a little All-Star action. Maybe you get a little crossover event. Maybe you get a showcase. Ever heard of a showcase for college athletes? There could be new opportunities.
Yet again, college would have to play ball.
I'm saying, like, going forward, there could be new opportunities. And I think that's things that the NBA, they are discussing these things. I think they have to consider that. And I think at the end of the day, I do expect them to go, this season is, if they want to go 82, that's fine. They will start in January, and they will start the next season back where they normally do in October. But I would be interested to know what the thoughts are on a January or late December start, either early Jan, late December start. Moving forward, what that could open up for them.
It'll be interesting to see, though, especially what the NBA does decide to do. But, Dave, before we move into all the non-basketball move, let's do a segment we love to do here on MVP Sports Live every Monday.
Which is non-basketball today, because there's no basketball that was played yesterday.
I mean, we talked basketball for about 40 minutes.
No, there's no basketball that was played yesterday.
Oh, yes.
So we can't give a wet boy to a basketball player when there was no basketball play.
We can't give one to a wet boy. But I'm saying before we go on to our non-basketball news.
This is non-basketball news today.
We just talked about the NBA.
No, but we're going to non-basketball news.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Before we go on into... No,
we're already there.
Before we go on into it... Literally, before we go on into it, Dave, we're going to do the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, sometimes the mistiest of misses, because usually they're moist men. These are our wet boys, where we give nods to, fuck it, while I do this, Dave can't talk. So what we're going to do is wet boys. We usually give a nod to players that popped off the day before. These are our players of the game. And yes, there were no basketball games, Dave, as you are unmuted now. So I know there's no basketball wet boys, but you can get involved because Dave gives a wet boy, I give a wet boy, and then the patrons at patreon.com/MVPvids. I thought I unmuted you. Oh, you muted yourself. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Ha ha ha. You're very funny. But usually 3 wet boys, patreon.com/MVPvids, silver and above, gets to vote on their wet boy each and every day. These wet boys are going to first show last week's wet boys, and then I'll preload the new one, only because I asked Dave for his wet boy. Dave was working, so he wasn't able to give me his wet boy until Soapy and I had already started, so I was not able to preload the wet boys into Streamlabs. So, Dave, who's your wet boy for September 22nd, 2020, or are you just going to stay muted out of spite? Yeah, he's going to stay muted out of sight. Despite no one can read your lips, Dave. No one knows what you are saying. Do you guys know what he's saying? Because I don't.
I'm just going his Derek Carr. You guys could read my lips.
You know I can't. I can't.
You knew exactly what I was saying, though.
No, I didn't. What were you saying?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. One me down.
One you down, one to go.
Loving this guy.
Who's your wet boy, Dave?
It's Derek Carr, if you couldn't read my lips. Again, there was no...
I preloaded it.
Oh! That's a nice surprise. Nice job. So, yeah, Derek Carr. The Raiders yesterday played a fucking game, and I think a lot of people were going into this with, obviously, the Saints were favorites, but it was like... the Raiders are kind of a fucking wild card team because they got the home opener there.
Yep.
And we're like, I don't know what to expect out of them. They looked good week 1, but they obviously could have lost that game had CMC gotten the final carry.
Yep.
So week 2, what'd they come out and do? Well, Derek Carr decided that he was going to spank that Saints defense, which looked so good against the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers. I was shocked to see how well they did. I did not expect it out of this Las Vegas. Raiders team, but the stadium looks fucking incredible. I think we can all admit that. That's one of those stadiums I would love to go visit.
Derek Carr also signed it after the first win.
Nice.
He put the name of the stadium, LV34, 24NO, and then big DC with a number 4 next to it.
That's pretty fucking baller, I'll be honest. Credit to him for that. So big shout out to Derek Carr. Hell of a game. Made all the right reads. Won the game, yeah. What more could you ask for?
So for mine, I got to quickly look up the exact reason because there's an exact reason why I gave him this wet boy
Why
day. Why I oughta. And it's not only, I thought it was January 17th. That was his birthday. No, it's June 17th. But I'm going to the pond, Dave. Stanley Cup going on right now. There is a championship on the line between the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay, because they don't have Tom Brady, Lightning. And the Lightning tied it up last night. They tied it up 1-1. They won 3-2. And it's mainly because of the play this postseason. I've given him a wet boy before. It's not Dak Prescott. So yours preloaded, Dave. Mine did not. Mine did not. I'm like, it is not Dak Prescott. It is Nikita Kucherov. And I know based on the stats.
Big hockey show.
He had no goals. He only had 2 points. He was a plus minus of
0
on the day. The stats aren't where this wet boy comes from. It's the fact that he has now set a Tampa Bay Lightning single playoff points record. So he is now, when we talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, whenever we do, Dave, because you know how much we talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Big hockey talk show. Maybe we gotta get our old MVP buddy hashtag or & onside kick buddy Dave Wahlberg on to talk some hockey. Haven't talked to him in a while.
What he's up to?
He had a birthday this weekend because I saw on Facebook.
Oh shit! Happy shout out!
On Sunday was his birthday,
Big Wahlberg.
And he was gambling on some football games, betting on some football games.
Good move. Good luck, sir.
Taking the parlay, as he was saying. But the article here finally loaded with a pair of first period assists in Game 2. Tampa Bay Lightning winger Nikita Kucherov matched, then surpassed Tampa Bay's record for most points in a single postseason with 28 points, 6 goals, 22 assists. Kucherov bettered Brad Richards' franchise record, which was set during the team's 2004 Stanley Cup run. So that's why I'm going to the pond, Dave. He's setting team records and the Lightning tying things up. And then Dave, this guy, the patron wet boy, he goes along with your wet boy. I'm going to assume this is not going to load like I want it to. It is not. I don't know why yours loaded, but the rest of them did not. But it's basically Derek Carr's main partner in crime, Darren Waller. 103 yards, 12 receptions, 1 tutty.
National TV coming out party for Darren Waller. I think a lot of people who played fantasy last year knew exactly what Darren Waller could be.
Yep.
And this year he's looked great. And again, this was a huge game. Obviously, he is the number 1 guy right now with some questionable injuries out there. So I think that he's going to be good for a long time. He doesn't seem like he's like a one-hit wonder, like a fluky kind of player. He looks like he's got a great skill set, good hands, good size, good speed out there. So I think Derek Carr is absolutely in love with his new favorite weapon. He's got Josh Jacobs in the backfield. And he's got Darren Waller out there going wide.
He's got everything you want. Good tight end, good speed.
I did not do it this week.
No, you didn't, but I wanted to.
I tried so hard because I felt myself going into it.
Good
and I was
job,
like,
Dave. Good
no,
job.
Dave, you are not going to be him today.
I heard a little bit of it, but you kept your tone of voice. Which is, I think, the important part is when you go into the cadence, you can't go into the Mel Kiper voice. Yep. But Dave, the thing we're going to go on to next, our little football news for today is Drew Brees. Sam brought this up in our watch along last night. And I made the joke of oh man, not only do we have the Tom Brady ravine, but we got the Drew Brees ravine as well. And today, national news about it, that people are has Drew Brees, I almost said Drew Brady, has Drew Brees lost a step? And this comes after Drew Brees threw for 160 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, was sacked once. Then comes after yesterday's game where he threw for 312 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, was sacked 0 times. The Saints are 1-1. Dave, the 41-year-old quarterback, do you think he's lost a step this year?
Yes. Yes, he has. Look, Drew Brees was never the guy to beat you with his arm, though. He was the guy who would kill you with accuracy. He has been an incredibly precise passer his entire career. And without Michael Thomas out there, it definitely hurt their offense. I think the most disappointing thing of the day was seeing that Emmanuel Sanders isn't like a true number 2 out there. I don't know what that situation is out there because it seemed like he was able to seamlessly fit into a new offense mid-season for the 49ers. And this year, he does not seem to fit at all in that Saints offense. So I have some questions for the Saints. I have some questions for their play calling and for Drew Brees and why he and Emmanuel Sanders, someone who has been a perennial just stud at wide receiver, can't seem to get the ball in his fucking hands. So lots of questions. But Drew Brees has never been the guy to just, sling it right in there and like throw fastballs left and right. He's not that kind of player. He is a precision passer. He picks apart defenses because he knows what's going on. He's got more of that He's got more of that Peyton Manning to him than Brett Favre, you know?
And that's exactly it.
Holds a billion fucking records too. You see the cleats he wore?
Yep. I mean, he's got
a lot of records on those cleats.
For me, I feel like we're at the point where it's like the Saints are 1-1. Like, if they were 0, like if Tom Brady lit them up week 1, then yeah, we'd have some things to talk about. But like this Saints team is good enough to where guess what? They don't need to rely on Drew Brees all the time. They've got Alvin Kamara in the backfield. When Michael Thomas is healthy, they do have Michael Thomas. Jared Cook is a reliable target and has a rapport with Drew Brees. And maybe that's Emmanuel Sanders' problem. He didn't sleep
with Drew Brees' wife. Great on him.
He did not.
Looking at you, Jimmy Graham.
Looking at him.
Never forget.
Dave will never forget. So for people who don't know, and they
that reference
like
right there.
Well, I feel like every time you bring it up now, I have to explain it because someone who doesn't know is going to be like, "Oh my God, Jimmy Graham is like Patrick Sharp." And basically, Dave and I in a fantasy season traded Gronk for Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham was doing good that year. Then Jimmy Graham fell off the fucking
on a weekly basis.
Yeah, he fell off.
He was the number 1. Gronk was 2, and we're like, look, the bye weeks match up where we both win if we do this deal.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. And then Jimmy Graham decided to sleep with Drew Brees' wife. So my sources tell me. Allegedly.
Some of them might be in the wall.
For the rest of the year, I think Jimmy Graham had like 6 catches in 6 games and no touchdowns.
And the thing
he was abysmal.
And on the other side, the grass on the other side, Gronk, if you're horny, just won the title that year.
I'm pretty sure Gronk set a fucking record for having like 18 touchdowns in 6 weeks or some bullshit.
It was ridiculous. But Dave, there's one quote or one reaction here to the Saints loss that I want to bring up.
Sure.
And I love him. I love Colin Cowherd because
who got divorced? Who's the ex-girlfriend?
No, this is far worse than that. Do you want to know who he's compared Drew? Like the thing is, Colin Cowherd reacts to Saints Week 2 loss. Drew Brees is starting to look a lot like blank. Which quarterback do you think he said he looks a lot like? He is in the NFL
Brady?
right now. No.
Tom Brady.
Nope.
Carson Wentz.
Nope. Kirk Cousins.
No.
I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, we've gone too far, Colin. We've gone too far. He's not that bad.
Did you watch Kirk Cousins? You watched Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
You could tell us all.
Yes. I have turned in from year 1 of Kirk, like, oh, the playoff loss, it's only year 1, blah, 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 to, oh my God, we're stuck with him for 2 more years. That is where I'm at right now. If I was a Saints fan, I would not be worried. Like Sean said this, Sean relayed this from Jake because Sam made a comment during our watch along about like, oh man, Jake must be really upset that they're going to lose. And Sean's like, well, Jake said this could be a trap game for the Saints. Like, I think realistically, Saints were like, oh, the Raiders can play. I think we're just, at this point with Drew Brees, we're overreacting to a loss. We got to wait and see how the rest of their season goes. Let's even see really quickly who they play this week. Come on, NFL, you got to be better. Or come on, ESPN, you got to be better.
Come on, ESPN.
ESPN app got to do better. Oh, okay, they got Green Bay this week, Dave, on Sunday Night Football.
So Drew Brees goes 2 in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, 1 and 2.
But then after that, it's like Detroit Chargers, and then Carolina, and then Chicago.
Chargers defense, Bears defense are not anything to sleep on.
Good point, but I'm mainly going off of I'm sleeping on those teams totally.
You're wrong. We're 2-0. Hey,
I thought you'd be 2-0. It's not like I thought you'd be 0-2. It's not like I'm sleeping on you that hard.
We are 2 plays away from being 0-2.
But I mean, with Drew Brees, I just think the simple point of this is pump the brakes, people. Pump the brakes. Drew Brees is not bad. It's kind of like sometimes a quarterback can't lead you to a playoff and a Super Bowl all on his own.
They've got a great defense. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of offensive weapons around him. I truly do wonder though, play calling wise, like were there reads he missed on this game? Were there throws over the top that he didn't have the confidence in his arm to make? What was off target by a smidge here and there that could have led to a completion or incompletion one way or the other. And that's what you got to look at. Like if you're a true fucking like committed Saints fan, if you want to look back at that game pass by pass, I implore you to and tell me that he could have done something differently that would have made the difference had he had 3% more arm strength or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like his arm's not a rubber band. It's not snapped. It's not broken. He still was able to make accurate throws at the NFL level. Yes, your offense might not be the same because Michael Thomas is there. So maybe let's take that in consideration.
And like Drew Brees said, the Saints are not in sync right now. Maybe that's just it. Without a preseason, because there was no preseason out there, that basically it was just training camp and here you go thrown in the games. Maybe that's what we're seeing from the Saints of like, maybe even if it was just a drive in a preseason one game where it was like, all right, we've got some kind of like some practice with this before going into the regular season. Maybe that's it. Who knows? I think we're overreacting to it though. The other small news, Dave, and this ain't going to be a lot. This is just going to be a little like, hey, it's a nod. Guess who got signed by the Broncos today?
Oh,
Blake Bortles, baby.
I saw your post.
Blake Bortles. Here's my question. Should he start over Jeff Driscoll?
No.
Why not? He's actually starting in the NFL.
Jeff Driscoll knows an offense.
Good point.
Blake Bortles is known for throwing pick sixes and underperforming.
Do you think Blake Bortles eventually takes the job from Jeff Driscoll?
I mean, he's got 1 week to figure it out. I think that's the thing. It's like I look at Drew Lock and I go, is he done for the season or no?
I think his is out for the year. Let me look it up.
So then he's got a couple weeks. I think Driscoll will eventually lose the job. Yes, I think Bortles is still not a good enough quarterback to be a long-term starter in the NFL, but this is a great second chance for him. You know what I'm surprised by is that someone named Colin fucking Kaepernick didn't get a workout, and we heard about that again.
Fox News, Colin Kaepernick not mentioned as possible replacement for Broncos Drew Lock.
Yep. It's just like, really? Are we just going to – we all talked about him.
Lock is just out multiple weeks. It's Sutton
I thought he was
the season.
So okay, right. Yeah. He was the AC joint or the high ankle?
I think it was the high ankle with him.
Okay.
I think him and Jimmy both had high ankles.
Okay. That's fair then. I mean, it's just, if it's only a couple weeks, that's fine. I think Blake is a great backup quarterback. I think that he can stand in there for a couple of plays because Jeff Driscoll will get benched in the next 2 games. So, they'll both see playing time. I don't expect Denver to win anything now, which is disappointing because I thought this was going to be a great growth year for Drew Lock and his number 1 wide receiver in Cortland Sutton, who I drafted in fantasy. Thank you very much, Cortland Sutton. T's and P's to you. Hope you are healthy going forward. Hope everything's okay, but obviously he is done for the year. So sad
Dave's
stuff.
Like, done for the year, so that means I'm done with you right now.
Yeah, I already dropped him, but he was undroppable because he had played that week technically.
Yeah.
Like I could not hit the drop button faster on him. I feel bad.
So, Dave, we're going to college to end the show. Number 1 is
Shocker.
It's a short one. Let's just get it out of the way. Notre Dame-Wake Forest football game postponed after more positive coronavirus tests. This is from Andrea Anderson at ESPN. Or I'm sorry, Andrea Adelson at
Lock his
ESPN.
shoulder. Okay, so Lock was the AC joint.
Okay. I thought him and Jimmy were the same.
Jimmy was the high ankle. Somebody else. There was only like 17 injuries last week. Why can't you keep track of this?
Why can't I keep track of all of them? But basically, the Notre Dame-Wake Forest football game scheduled for Saturday has been postponed after the Irish announced 13 players are in isolation. In a statement Tuesday, Notre Dame said 7 players tested positive for coronavirus out of 94 tests done on Monday. Combined with testing results from last week, 13 players are in isolation and 10 in quarantine. As a result, Notre Dame has paused all football-related activities. The 2 schools are working on a date to reschedule the game. With the student-athlete health and safety, our primary focus, I had to laugh, sorry. We will continue to follow our prevention protocols and ongoing testing procedures, Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly said in a statement. We managed an increase in positivity rates in August, and the players handled it wonderfully. We knew COVID would present challenges throughout the season, and will always put student-athletes' health and safety at the forefront of our decision-making. We look forward to resuming team activities and getting back to playing on the field. Of course you look back to getting back on the field, because that's all that matters here, Dave. They don't care about student health. I will go ahead and say it. I don't care who gets mad at me for it. They don't care about student health because they are putting these kids at risk of getting this disease. How is that looking out for health? It's more of like hey, you're going to play football for us, and then if it does happen, then we care about your health. But we don't care enough about your health to not put you in that situation.
We've gone over our thoughts on this so many times. If anybody hasn't seen them, you can go check.
It's just it's a weekly update at this point.
It's dumb that college sports are happening. Mm-hmm. It's dumb that we are putting players in a position where they are risking their future health and long-term effects that we don't know yet. Play a game that literally means nothing.
I'll say this, and I don't mean to cut you off, but it's
But you're gonna cut me off. That's fine. That's fine.
The one thing I will add to this that is new is JD asked me, or JD mentioned in a watch along and asked me what do you think about Alabama naming their starter, or this person naming their starter? And I feel because of everything that's gone on, and because of how I am so against what's going on, I kind of don't care about college football this year. I'll be honest, haven't watched a college game this year.
I've watched 3.
Have not checked out. I've score watched when it was the Miami Louisville one. I looked, I was like, oh shit, Miami's blowing them out. But I have not watched a single college football game this year. When I see news about so and so's named the starter, I'm almost the fun has almost been sucked out of this college football season because of what's going on. And I know I'm the only one on this side. But it's almost I felt bad because JD was looking for what do you think? And I literally could give him nothing because I was I don't really care. And that's the first time I've ever had I don't really care when it comes to sports.
It's sad to say. I got nothing else to really add to that.
That's all. Dave's play the tape.
I ranted, I raved about college sports and made my feelings very clear that I think that it's a ridiculous mistake. And I understand the opportunities to earn ridiculous paydays for these players is being hampered by this. I do feel for them for being limited financially because of that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to health, you have to put that first, and you have to put health and safety first for these students. And the fact that colleges are not doing that is an incredible disappointment to me. I think to a lot of people in the country. Side note, completely unrelated. I just came across the video of Zach LaVine getting the news that his new head coach is Billy Donovan. Yeah. He's playing Call of Duty. Literally, oh wow, new head coach is Billy Donovan. He just keeps playing. He just doesn't. He was a really good coach in Florida, and then with OKC, he's just 100% focused on playing Warzone. He's going.
Don't break the news to him when he's playing his game. Basically,
it felt almost emotionless. I don't know what to read into that, but there's a video out there from him from Facebook Live because he was streaming.
Yeah,
playing some Call of Duty out there. So that's just fun.
So last thing we'll bring up before we wrap up the show: ESPN, Dave. Sources are saying they're going to move college basketball events to worldwide a wide world of sports in Orlando. Here's the article by Jeff Borzello. ESPN is planning to move at least 8 of its men's college basketball events to the ESPN's wide world of sports property in Walt Disney World, Orlando, Florida. Conference and team sources told ESPN. ESPN runs 10 non-conference games in November and December, and at least 8 of them are expected to take place in Orlando this year. The Champions Classic, the Charlton Classic, Myrtle Beach Invitational, NIT Season Tip-Off, Wooden Legacy, Orlando Invitational, Jimmy V Classic, and the Diamond Head Classic are expected to move to Disney. The ESPN Wide World of Sports has been the site of the NBA's bubble, but different protocols are expected to be in place for college events, team sources told ESPN. The events are expected to begin on November 25th, the new start date of the college basketball season, and run for the first 2 weeks of the season. Specific dates for the events are undetermined for now, but the Champions Classic, which annually takes place on the first night of the season, is more likely to occur during the second week of the proposed 2-week window. Team sources told ESPN there will be overlapping during the 2 weeks with up to 3 games going on at once. Dave, what are your thoughts? Champions Classic, we actually went to a couple years ago.
I loved it. I think it's the right idea. We talked about college basketball, and I said how horrible the idea is of them traveling across the country for games. The way the college athletes are treated right now, like this is the best possible situation. If you must play sports, then I applaud going to a bubble. I applaud going to Orlando. Clearly, they've proven with Disney what they can do and succeed in the fact that, hey, everybody's healthy. There's no fucking issues. We have our rules. We have our regulations. We've seen punishment for players who violated those, and people are held accountable. And I think that's exactly what you want to see as a fan of NCAA basketball. We're going to get to see some actual games happening this year safely.
Yeah, and I mean, not just having like, hey, we've got these 10 tournaments, let's have 10 different bubbles. No, let's have one bubble.
Yep.
Let's just have all of them in one bubble. That way it's like you don't have to worry about, like, it just, in my mind, makes things easier. You're worrying about one location rather than multiple locations, and you can just have them all in. I think it's a win-win. Cross our fingers that things go well. Although I'm still kind of uneasy about sports coming back in the fall, even if it's October or November. But yeah, that's pretty much
Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed on the COVID front.
Everybody's planning for these things. The only thing that's gotten better, I will admit, is testing. I think it's wonderful that we are in a much better place with tests available, the turnaround time for tests, and the accuracy of them. So, hey, if we're able to get to a point where, testing so widespread is like, hey, we can allow negative tests to get into a building, to have partial fans in the year 2021, 100% cool with that. Like, the people that fans in right now are insane, and understand that as a business, they're just trying to make money. And
it's even sadder when you can't sell those tickets.
Oh yeah, let people risk their own lives. Let them decide if they want to go or not. I have no problem with letting people decide their own fate. So that's cool. But I think going forward in 2021, that the amount of testing and hopefully a vaccine at some point mid-year, we'll be in a different place and we'll be able to move forward. But college basketball, bubble, games happening, love it.
Yeah. That's going to do it, though, for MVP Sports Live today. Thank you guys for checking it out. Don't forget Discord, link down below in the description if you want to get in on more of the conversation going on right now in Twitch chat, !Discord. Gets that link into the chat. Also, if you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids is a great way to do that. Bronze, silver, gold, platinum tiers for the numerous amounts of ways to support us. And thank you to our patron sponsors, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. And then last but not least, we're on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. But we're also on YouTube, MVP Sports. So like, follow, subscribe, all those places. Stay in tune with everything going on with MVP each and every day. Dave and I will be back tomorrow to talk more sports. Maybe there's another coaching hire that is just thrown into our lap literally right before the show.
A lot of names, a lot of open teams. Let's make things happen here, people.
And maybe we talk Lakers Nuggets. I don't know. Maybe if they
basketball game is happening,
we do. Maybe we do. Who knows? Yes, we'll probably talk Lakers and Nuggets tomorrow as well. But that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for giving us a little bit of your time today. And as always, have a good day, everybody.